If you're an empath and you're constantly absorbing other people's energy, it's not ascension symptoms and it's not a gift. You simply have a dysregulated nervous system. Most people confuse a dysregulated nervous system with being a spiritual empath or being spiritually gifted. It's not that you don't have the spiritual gifts, because being an empath allows you to deeply tune in and sense other people's states of emotion. Now, you can use it very positively. You can use it to connect with other people, to help people, and to create profound impact in other people's lives. You can use it as a source of information for your intuition to make extremely accurate decisions with great levels of discernment. Throughout your life, you are most likely surrounded by people who were not in charge of their own emotions. Maybe you had emotionally unstable parents, so as a child, you learned to extremely accurately predict, absorb, and manage the emotional states of your parents. You gained the skill set to completely understand other people's emotions before they do, so that you can then act accordingly. This is your nervous system protecting you by absorbing the energy from the people around you so that you can map their behavior before they know what it's going to be, so that you can act accordingly and stay safe. Now, for many people, this turns into what we would call being an empath. And the disempowering side of it is that you end up absorbing everyone else's emotions. It becomes challenging to be in social circles where there's lots of other people because you feel like you're absorbing all of their energy. When really what's happening is your nervous system is trying to predict the emotional states of everyone in the circle. For many empaths, this can turn into a legitimate superpower that helps them become masterful, amazing coaches, healers, or guides, because they can tune into and discern other people's emotional states, and they can help them navigate through layers of their emotions that that person can't yet see for themselves. However, for most empaths, it also creates a debilitating side effect. It becomes very challenging to be in social circles or settings where there are lots of people. They get easily overwhelmed, and they feel like a sponge that just absorbs everyone else's energy. While one side of this results in very empowering skill sets and gifts, the other side of it is very disempowering. And if you're experiencing that overwhelm or that feeling of being a sponge to everyone else's emotions, it's simply because your nervous system is still running part of the old program of survival. When you're in a situation where there's lots of other people around, your nervous system is actively trying to predict the emotional states of everyone in the room around you. And as a result, that gets overwhelming because it's nearly impossible for your nervous system to keep track of that many different people's individual emotional states and try to manage them for them. This also has an implication on the chakra system. Instead of your chakras actively projecting your authenticity, your chakras project a version of you that needs to fit with the emotional states of everyone else around you. And like I said, this comes with some outright legitimate superpowers. You can place yourself in just about any situation, and like a chameleon, you can make it work. You can show up in whatever energy is needed for the situation or the environment. But for the empath, this comes at a great cost, and it's the cost of your authenticity. And if you stay here for too long, it may even cost you your ability to know who you actually are. Now, there is an important space of resolution. When you master your chakra system to project the authentic version of who you actually are, and when you decouple your nervous system from managing the emotional states of everyone else around you, and you recognize that their emotions are their emotions, they need to deal with them. Your emotions are your emotions, you need to deal with them. And you do not need to be a sponge that feels everyone else's emotions unless you're going to use that skill and that ability in a space where it is beneficial for you and the other person. You don't need to have that gift of tuning into everyone else's emotional states turned on 100% of the time. You can shut it off, and it is safe to do so. If turning off that ability doesn't feel safe, that's a clear signal that your nervous system is still running the protective programs from the past, and it still feels that it needs to manage other people's emotional states in order to keep you safe. Now, I know this entire experience can be extremely challenging. As someone who personally used to absorb so much energy from everyone else around me that I found it extremely challenging to even do basic things like going out and getting groceries, because I would pick up on everyone's emotions around me. And I also know the deep, powerful gifts that can come with it when I'm working with a client and I can deeply tune in and completely feel their emotional space. But what I learned to master with my 13 chakra system was the difference between these two situations. I do not need to be aware of, soak up, or be a sponge for the emotions of every random person that I walk past. I do not need to be an emotional sponge or be managing the emotions of my family or my friends. But I can still use that empathic sensitivity to tune in with discernment, to see and understand people, without the need to soak up that energy, recognizing that I am not responsible for their emotional state. And I can also free myself back into my authenticity and no longer need to adapt who I am to fit the emotional states of people around me. Now, if you're still here watching this, there was probably a lot of trauma in your childhood or people in your life who were emotionally immature, and you had to step up to the responsibility of managing their emotions. And this has left you with both a superpower and a bit of a curse. If you're ready to completely embrace the gift half of this and completely break out of the curse half of this and step fully into your authenticity so you can show up as who you are without needing to be responsible for other people's emotional states, then go to the link in my bio and come to the cycle breaker training that I'm doing this week. We're going to walk step by step through the 7 chakras and look at where distortions get stuck in the 7 chakras, and then how to restructure your chakra system and your nervous system using your 13 chakra source code blueprint to reactivate and embody the version of you that existed before you had to become responsible for everyone else's emotional states. So I'll see you there on the flip side.